Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we have another beer in this winter Swedish series that I'm doing for you. We're getting towards the end of this series now, but for this one we are going to head up to Stockholm and have a look at another relatively new brewery. And this one is actually partly owned by Brooklyn Brewery in America. So for this one we are going to go to Stockholm, the Hammarby district, and we're going to visit Nya Carnegie Bryggeriet. And this one is quite interesting. This was their 100th batch brew. This one is the 100W, and it's an IPA, the very first IPA they brewed actually, and it's got some nice hops in it. It comes in at 7.2%, so it should be a pretty interesting one for us to review today. So as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual websites are in the video description below. That includes the brewery website, the link to my future reviews that I'll do from Nyacarnegie. This is the very first time I'm trying one of their beers incidentally, and there's all the usual social media things down there, Facebook, Twitter and Untappd. Please follow me through there, don't hesitate to get in touch, and if you want to see more Swedish reviews, do please subscribe to the channel. And to my Swedish viewers, please do let me know some of the other Swedish beers and breweries you'd like me to have a look at, and I do apologise for any bad pronunciations in the video. I'm still learning Swedish since I moved here to Lund. So anyway, to tell you about Nyacarnegie Bryggeriet. So Nyacarnegie Bryggeriet are a new kind of joint project, if you like, in Stockholm between Brooklyn Brewery and Carlsberg from Denmark. So the brewery is located in the old Luma light bulb factory, which was built in 1930, and this is in the Hammarby district of the city, and the name actually comes from the D Carnegie brand, which is one of the oldest known brands, I think maybe the oldest known brand in Sweden, and they're particularly famous for producing their Baltic Porter. So the project started up in 2011 when Carlsberg teamed up with Garrett Olivier from Brooklyn Brewery to create a bourbon barrel-aged version of the famous porter for its 175th anniversary. So the head brewer at Nyacarnegie is Anders Ventler, and the rest of the team, Josephine Carlson, Christopher Turgeson and Carl Fornarve, were all trained by Garrett himself. And if you've tried the Brooklyn beers in America, you'll know these guys were one of the kind of premier or sort of pioneering American craft breweries. So you've got a very good quality brew team here, I'm sure, if they've been trained by Garrett Olivier. He's a very well known beer writer as well. But the brew kit that they have at the brewery is a German Rolik, and they have an annual capacity at full tilt of 12,000 hectolitres, and they also have an on-site restaurant which produces a lot of different dishes with using local produce and things. So if you find yourself in Stockholm, take a trip over to Hammarby and have a look at the Nyacarnegie Bryggeriet restaurant in Hammarby. So this one should be a very interesting beer for us to review. They have a couple of different beers. They first started off with 5 beers, but they do have an experimental range as well. So they're 3 all year round range. They call these their flagship beers. They've got their Keller beer, which is supposed to be really nice, the Amber and the Jack. In their seasonal range, they've got the Solai and the Lusinglen, I'm sorry, Swedish pronunciation again, but that's supposed to be a nice quite light beer, and this one is a member of the experimental range. If you check out the brewery website, as I said in the description below, if you check out there, it gives you a list of all of their different experimental beers, and as I told you, this one was their 100th brew. So this one is a 7.2% IPA, their 100th brew, like I said, and it was actually the first IPA that they ever brewed in Hammarby. This one's hopped with Bravo, Amarillo, YET from New Zealand, Centennial and Mosaic, and it's got a malt base of Pilsner and pale caramel, so it should be a very good beer for us to review. It had quite high ratings. It was rated about 82, 83 on Rate Beer, and as I always say, that website very rarely leads you wrong. So I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a little quick look at the artwork on this one. There we are. So as you can see, it's quite nice and quite modern presented. You can actually see on the back, there's the little Brooklyn Bee, and it's got James Watt on the side, a very famous Scottish physicist actually. I forget if it was Edinburgh or Glasgow University he went to, but very close to where I'm actually from in Scotland, but very famous physicist there, born at 1736, January 19th, and died 1819, 25th of August. Very, very good scientist. One of the most famous Scottish scientists actually. James Clerk Maxwell is probably the most famous one, I would say. He's very highly regarded, but yeah, tells you here a little bit about the brewery. You can see the actual artwork on this is how the Nyacarnegie restaurant looks in Hammarby, so I really need to go and check that out. But as you can see, very nicely presented. There's the Nyacarnegie bottle cap on this one. But yeah, I'm not sure if James Watt didn't invent the light bulb, I'm sure, but he was very well known for his for electricity, and of course the unit for power is named after him, watts of course. So yeah, quite a good name for it. 100 watt, I guess they're calling this one. So yeah. So, as you can see, nice smoky opener on this one. Quite a lot of carbonation rushing to the surface there. I never actually clicked with that actually, why it was called 100W, or the fact that it's meant to be a 100-watt light bulb factory. Then they had James Watt on the side there. Didn't actually click there until I opened up the bottle, and that's terrible because I'm an astronomer and actually do physics as well, so that's actually very, very bad. So, but yeah, so as you can see, this beer has poured a really nice kind of bright, kind of yellowy orange amber, I think it's fair to describe this one as. Yeah, more of a yellow orange amber than a kind of darker, richer amber. There's a half finger of a frothy white head there. Quite a few little bits of sediment floating around in this one, but very, very small particles incidentally. It's been in the fridge for maybe about 2 days or so. So that's to be expected, and especially when it's a craft beer, you will get some sediment there. But there's quite a few bubbles visible in this one, quite a few little bubbles just going up to the bottom of the head there. But this should be very, very nice. Really looking forward to this one, and particularly the Waiiti hop from New Zealand should be interesting. I don't think I've had a beer like that, like this one before, but there's really interesting aroma on this. You've got a nice orangey citrus there, but the tropical fruits seem to be pushing their way out. There's quite a bit of a peachy, almost peachy or kind of passion fruity aroma coming out of this beer. But there's a nice orangey citrus. That, of course, is the Amarillo, and you will get some of that from the Waiiti hop as well. I had to look up exactly what the properties of the Waiiti hop were because I've never come across that one before, and it's a good way to learn if you're into your beer. But there's a good bit of sharper citrus in there. That's most likely to come from the Centennial. Centennial gives you a nice kind of sharp citrus and some good sort of floral aromatic character. But the tropical fruit there in this one is quite interesting. Some nice passion fruit and sort of peachy aromas coming out of this one. There is an element of earthiness from this, and that's to be expected when you've got the Mosaic and the Bravo in there. Both really interesting hops. The Bravo one actually gives you a sort of spicy, earthy character, and Mosaic gives you a kind of, if I remember rightly, it's a sort of grapefruity note, so probably there's some tropical fruit coming out of there too. But yes, this is a really nice aroma. Quite a lot going on, and you can smell the backbone in this. There's a good backbone from that malt that's in there, the Pilsner and the caramel and the pale caramel that's in there. A nice bready and sort of slightly biscuity caramel sweetness in there. But there's a nice aroma on this one. Not the most pungent aroma I've come across, but kind of sufficiently complex to suit the beer, I would say. But very, very nice, I have to admit. As I always say with the beers, give them a good smell before you actually get stuck into them, but we're going to have a crack at this beer now. It smells too nice just to smell. So this one is the 100 watt, an IPA, the 100th brew from Nya Carnegie Bryggeriet in Hammarby up in Stockholm in Sweden. I'm still annoyed at myself for not clicking about 100 watts. Skål. Now that's really nice actually. First thing you'll notice about it is well balanced. It's not too forward with the hops. It doesn't, like some of these West Coast American beers can come in and really just blast your tongue with hops and bitterness and dryness. This one is more going for a nice balance, and it does it well. But as I always say, sugar the beer around your mouth a little bit before you start dissecting the flavour. Just let your whole palate adjust because the flavour does develop. But this is a really interesting fruit flavour that's on this one. There's a little bit of a gooseberry flavour in this one that comes out in the aftertaste. You can just feel that just towards the front of the palate there. That's really interesting because there are some hops that give you a kind of lime and gooseberry flavour, but I've never had a gooseberry flavour come out just in the aftertaste like that, and it just sits there. You get, as I always say, you get that little oily bubble behind the very front of the tongue where your fruity flavours come out. There's these very distinct parts of the palate. Middle of your palate is the malts, around the edges of the palate is where you get the hops, and then just behind the front of the tongue is where the fruity esters always come out. And it's just really interesting. There's just that, in that oily part behind the front curve of the tongue, there's a gooseberry flavour that just sits there and it builds into the aftertaste. It's quite interesting. But as I said, this aroma is, the flavour in this one is really well balanced. In the middle of the palate, you've just got a light, kind of pale bready malt characteristic. That just blankets the middle of the tongue. There's a little bit of a sort of cereally, biscuity character. It reminds me of the digestive biscuits that we eat at home rather. We don't drink biscuits, but you've got a nice kind of biscuity, sort of cereal, syrupy sweetness in there. And that's the pale caramel coming out there. Very nicely done. But yeah, if you move out towards the edge of the tongue, there's a little bit of earthiness just in the back corner of the palate. You can detect that usual thing from that's the Mosaic, I think, coming out there, and probably a bit of the Bravo. I've not had too many beers with Bravo, but you can get that nice, smooth, earthy character that you get from the Bravo. As you move further forward on the palate, it gets a little bit more floral and aromatic, and it's quite smooth. I think it's a bit smoother actually coming forward, then becomes more floral aromatic as you go round that front curve of the tongue, and then just behind that, that's where you're getting that little oily, the more oily part of the mouthfeel where the fruit flavours come out, and there's a lot of orangey citrus in there, maybe a bit sharper like tangerines or mandarins or something like that, but the orange, there's a definite orange citrus in there. And there's a good tropical underline to this one as well. I'm getting a bit of a sort of passion fruit and peachy mix out of this one. More peaches actually. It has that interesting peachy flavour in there. But as I said, there's that gooseberry thing that just backs it up, which is really interesting. It goes from that sweet peachy flavour, and there's maybe even a little bit of kind of mango or maybe more apricot in there or something. There's the mango and apricot for me are always a bit more juicy than the grapefruit and the passion fruit flavours that you can get out of these beers. I think there's a little bit of apricot and maybe just a bit of mango in there as well. These fruity esters are all very similar compounds chemically, so you can feel them mixing together, but I've tried to train myself, and I definitely think that there's a peachy flavour in here, but then it's just replaced by that gooseberry, and the gooseberry flavour sort of builds as you move into the aftertaste. A bit of the malt sweetness comes back as well, and some of the floral aromaticity is just lingering there on the palate too. But this is really nice. It's different from a lot of the IPAs I've had recently. Quite a few of the ones I've tried recently have been very forward in the hops, big, bitter, floral, aromatic characters, and I do like those. But this one is a bit of a change of pace, and it's always nice to try different beers that come across. And this one is this one's more going for a nice blend of flavours, if you like. This one's trying to make things blend together very well and just be nice and sessionable, and I do like that. And particularly that little gooseberry flavour that's in there, with the kind of peachy and sort of apricot-y flavours that are coming out of this one is really, really nice. So you have to, if you do get a hold of this beer, do try it. I'm not sure how easy it's going to be able to get outside of Sweden or if it's just a limited edition, but it is a nice beer, so if you're watching in Stockholm, go and try it. But yeah, that's really nice. I wouldn't hesitate to drink this again if I was at the restaurant and they had this on tap. Easy, nice light IPA, good to drink with your dinner actually. Right, in terms of the mouthfeel, this one is quite, it's kind of light to mid-bodied. There's no alcohol warmth to it. 7.2%, it's nice and juicy, doesn't have a lot of alcohol warmth to it at all. Carbonation, compared to what you see when you look at the beer, is very, very light. Bit of an oily mouthfeel, but at the same time it's quite wet and quite light, like I said, but there's a good fruity, juicy character to this one. A bit of the tropical fruit, and as I say, that gooseberry flavour that comes out of this is really interesting. Never quite come across a beer that has such a prominent gooseberry flavour in it, but there's a good bit of hoppy character. There's a little bit of floral aromatic bitterness from this beer. When you're going to get that, when you've got Centennial and you've got Mosaic and you've got Bravo in there, you're going to get a little bit of bitterness, but for me the bitterness is more floral aromatic. The earthiness is a bit smoother, if you like, but there's a good malty sweetness in the middle of the palate as well. So overall, it's a really nice IPA. It's a bit of a change of pace. There's some interesting fruit flavours in this one. If you enjoy that sort of thing, then give it a go. Very, very nice beer, and as I say, very cool to visit another brewery in Sweden. I quite enjoy doing this series where I go through new countries, and I'll definitely try some more of their beers on the basis of this one. And when it's Brooklyn Brewery that are involved, you know it's going to be some good stuff that they're producing. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. As I say, cool to visit another new Swedish brewery. Do go and check them out if you find yourself in Stockholm or a bit further afield. I got this beer through the small partier System at City and Belag are nationalised shops that we have here in Sweden, so I'm not sure if you'll find this. So if you do try the beer, let me know your own thoughts, let me know where you've drank the beer as well, that's always interesting to know. But I thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next one, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Go and check out my social media things, and there will be more Swedish reviews to come. Quite a few Danish ones coming up for you as well actually, so do stay tuned for those. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you soon. Slanja just now.